You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
From Article 370 to Ram Mandir to the Citizenship Amendment Act and now a pandemic, the first year of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second term has been jam-packed with big events. On 30th May last year, Modi took oath for the second time as India's Prime Minister after the NDA alliance won with a greater majority than 2014, virtually decimating the opposition's mahagathbandhan. It's been one long year since, and in the middle of this pandemic, the Modi government quietly completed 1 year anniversary of its second term. So what does the annual report card look like? For this podcast, I invited Aditya Menon, the Quint's political editor, to discuss what the government ticked off its bucket list, what it achieved, and where all it failed. You're listening to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you. And I'm your host, Shorbori. Merely 2 months after assuming power in the centre for the second time, the Modi government made history after revoking Article 370 that stripped Jammu and Kashmir of its special status and bifurcated the state into 2 union territories. It was an election promise made by the BJP. It was also a part of the manifesto to quote-unquote bring development in the state. The move triggered some serious human rights issues in the valley. Kashmir saw the longest internet shutdown ever in a democracy. In fact, even now in a lockdown when education and many other professions are solely dependent on digital approaches, Kashmir is still buffering on 2G internet. Moreover, movement in the valley is still restricted. Some opposition leaders are still under house arrest. Some, like former Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti, have even been charged with the dreaded PSA Act. So the BJP delivered on its Hindu nationalism, but what did it win with this move and what did it lose? That was my first question to Aditya.
The abrogation of Article 370 was a really high risk move for the government, I think, and the biggest consequence of this was that it destroyed the entire political mainstream in Kashmir. I mean, leaders like Mehbooba Mufti, Farooq Abdullah, Umar Abdullah, who had sworn by the Indian constitution, who used to bat for India in Srinagar, who used to bat for New Delhi in Srinagar, they were completely alienated. They were put under arrest. So it was the pro-India leadership in Kashmir that was entirely destroyed by this move. It's a really high-risk move. It clearly pitted New Delhi against the entire civilian population of Kashmir, and a very difficult political decision. And some would say that the BJP sacrificed New Delhi's strategic interest in Kashmir to fulfill its own political and ideological ends.
The next tick off the checklist came with the Babri Masjid Ram Janmabhoomi title dispute case. It was the call for a Ram Mandir that had aided BJP's popularity in the parliament from 2 Lok Sabha seats in 1984 to 85 seats in 1989, and then fast forward to 2019 where it got 303 seats on its own. And as the verdict came in favor of the temple, the centre formed a 15-member trust for building Ram Mandir, and among them was Modi's close aide Nripendra Mishra. It was a core agenda of the BJP that we know, and they delivered to the voter base who had backed this government. But does this move solidify the support once and for all?
If you look at all the big ticket measures that the Modi government has taken in its second term so far, be it the abrogation of Article 370 or the expediting of the construction of the Ram Mandir after the Supreme Court verdict, or even if or something even like the triple talaq bill, they are all aimed at this one core constituency that the BJP has, which is the Hindu voter. uh, I think the party realized that rather than trying to broaden its ideology to appeal to a wide section of Indians, it's much better to appeal to their core constituency and ensure that these core voters end up being much more than core voters, and they become almost like campaigners for the party. So now what you have is about 20, 15 to 20% of the population that is completely loyal to the BJP, and that if the whenever the need comes is willing to even to campaign for the BJP, not just during elections but throughout the year, and act as active disseminators of the government's decisions. So it seems that all of the BJP's decisions are aimed at this section.
The last 1 year under Modi 2.0 also altered India's socio cultural fabric unlike ever before, largely driven by the Citizenship Amendment Act, which proposes a divisive citizenship test. It also triggered widespread simultaneous protests in the country, police brutality, mass detentions, riots in the capital that got international attention. Even the United Nations was forced to urge the Modi government to respect the rights of freedom of opinion and expression and peaceful assembly. Did the Modi government push the Hindu versus Muslim agenda too far with NRC and CAA? Has it brought about a new political dimension for India going forward?
Yes, perhaps the BJP has played this card a little too far, uh, but then it has been working for it at least at the national level. I mean, PM Modi manages to deflect any criticism of his performance, any criticism of his decisions, mainly because he enjoys the solid support of a very large proportion of Hindu voters, and also because his government and his party and much of the media has managed to keep the entire narrative on Hindu versus Muslim issues. So it has worked for the BJP, at least in this respect. But I mean, there are limitations to it because look at state elections. These factors didn't really work for the BJP in Delhi or in Maharashtra, even Haryana and Jharkhand, for that matter.
And yes, as Aditya said, the state election results did pour water over BJP's winning streak, humiliating defeats not in one state but three: Jharkhand, Delhi, and Maharashtra, while in Haryana they had to form a coalition to retain power. Why did the BJP and Modi's popularity not translate into the states? What is the learning here for the party for the next 4 years of its term?
I think the main learning from these defeats for the BJP is that Modi's popularity isn't enough for it to win state elections. Modi can guarantee national level victories for the BJP, but it cannot help the BJP win in states where its state governments are already unpopular. Now that was the case in Jharkhand. That was also the case in Haryana, where the BJP fell short of a majority. It doesn't help that there's only one leader at the top, and the chief ministers don't really have that kind of stature that the prime minister has. So, I mean, this centralized leadership is what was considered the weakness of the Congress under someone like Indira Gandhi, and now this has become true for the BJP right now as well. So, the main learning for the BJP here is that it cannot really afford to weaken its state level leadership and lay all its eggs in the Modi basket.
But coming to the end of 1 year with the pandemic now, it was something that the government was unprepared for but managed to enforce a pretty strict lockdown. Modi's decisive and timely lockdown drew praises from the World Health Organization, but what started off as a good year for the agriculture with a bumper crop yield, excellent buying, and also sped up road constructions, among other things, all of that came to a halt with the ongoing lockdown. India's average unemployment rate also shot up to 24.5% as of 25th May. The country is facing a migrant crisis, and to add to that, the RBI projected a negative growth for GDP. Yet Modi's popularity remains unwavering through it. In fact, the recent opinion polls show that they have shot up even higher. Compared to US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, who Modi is equated with quite often, Modi's popularity doesn't seem to have a scratch on it. So, what is compelling Indians to rally behind him in this critical time, and what has worked out in this government and in Modi's favor despite the faltering economy?
There's something known as a rally around the flag effect in American politics, in which people are compelled to sort of support the incumbent government in times of a big national crisis, be it a war or a natural disaster or some pandemic like the pandemic we are seeing right now. So a bit of what is happening here, extremely high support for the Modi government is because of this. If you look at a number of surveys that have taken place in the last 2 months, support for the Modi government's handling of the COVID crisis remains extremely high. The C voter survey said that above 80% people think that the government is doing a good job. Uh, I mean, which is phenomenal given the kind of catastrophic effect the lockdown has had on the economy and as well as the continuously rising number of cases. So the lockdown has been far from from a success, but the PM Modi's popularity continues to be extremely high. So, I mean, it is because PM Modi has cultivated this larger than life image. If you look at his speeches over the last 2 months, he seldom goes into details about policies and about what the government's going to do or what the government is promising people. And it's because he doesn't go into the details, he can't be held accountable for anything. So if something goes wrong, it's someone like Piyush Goyal or Nirmala Sitharaman who gets the blame. But it is Modi who will continue to be seen as a savior by a large number of people in the country.
There's surely a lot of work on this government's plate in the coming months, from controlling the pandemic to picking up the pieces of the economy and fixing it. So, what can we expect in the coming year from this government?
See, the biggest challenge for this government is going to be the economy. By most accounts, we are looking at a minuscule growth rate, even a possible negative growth rate for the economy. And I mean, we have the massive labor crisis that we are looking at. Demand is going to fall immeasurably. So the government needs to, I mean, Modi will really be tested now in the immediate aftermath of this entire lockdown. Uh, Whether he has the vision, whether his government has the capacity to take major economic measures to really, really put in a lot of money to boost demand remains to be seen. So far, it does seem that the government doesn't have that kind of vision. It seems to be more operating through piecemeal measures and a great deal of bureaucratic kind of policies, but the government really hasn't shown that kind of vision when it comes to boosting demand, which is the main challenge for the economy right now, or in terms of giving some kind of economic support to the people. But the thing is, the pressure on the government will be extremely high because the economic distress is unprecedented. It's something that India hasn't seen in several decades. Uh, Probably for the first time, Modi might find himself in uncharted territory. This is not a mess that he and his government can get out of just by deflecting attention here and there. They will have to take some measures, otherwise, the goodwill that they have accumulated over the past few years will be squandered very, very, very easily.
If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. For any feedback, shoot an email to podcasts@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts